so at that, I remember we was like, okay, hold on. Every marriage has its own DNA.
Right.
Let us find what ours is.
What works for us.
Let us find out what works for us. So guess what? Yeah. Don't bring that in here.
And nobody else has to agree with that.
Say that again.
Nobody else has to agree with that. I think that's one of the great misconceptions that we have, especially when you have couples retreats and parties and all this kind of stuff. No.
We keep polling what's right for what works for you.
You have to do what works for your personality type.
Yeah, and that's in every area, right? And I think we've talked about it before. Like we've had to do that in every area. We have to do it in parenting.
Yep.
We have to do it in how we treat one another,
right? And
how we show each other love. Like I'm big on birthdays. I think remember I think one time my husband messed around and told me, you know, oh, I never did that for my birthday. And did I give you a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese? Was it Chuck E. Cheese? It was something. No, it was a kid. No, remember I get the cake.
Yes.
What was it? Spider-Man? Don't act like this on the live. So he was like, I always wanted this, right? And so I'm at the bakery, and the people are like, "Is this for your son?" And I'm like, "No, that's for my husband." And they looking like, "Okay." But I heard him say, as a kid, I wanted that.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, okay, those are the things that money can't buy.
Right. And it works.
You know,
it works for you. It has your DNA. It works for you all. And that's all that matters, because at the end of the day, y'all have to be happy with one another.
And you ate that cake too. You didn't even really share. Just thought I'd go and put it out
there.
It
was mine.
Listen, I bought it.
Yeah, I asked for it.
But I'm just saying.
It was mine. It was my gift.
Spider-Man all
I should
on
do what I want with my gift.
But it's like, okay, I heard you. And vice versa. Even with myself, there are certain things that my husband will just come home, not because it's my birthday, not because it's Valentine's Day, but babe, I was in the store and I thought about you.
Right.
And I was like, you thought about me? Look at them boots. Oh, what was you thinking? Thank you, Jesus. Right. And then it's the show of gratitude.
Right.
Right. Sometimes we got to check our gratitude levels, because what those outside inspirations that we have, they may not be showing you the level of gratitude of why it's happening. We were always taught thank you goes a long way.
Goes a long way. Watch this. One thing that has helped us in our marriage is understanding our level. And what I mean by our level is we live within our means. This is very, very, very important.
Talk about it.
When you live within your means, that means I'm buying what I can afford. I'm doing what I can afford. I'm doing all within my power to do. And the reason why I say this is because when we were first married, I had all kinds of advice coming from everybody, and they meant well. But I had to learn that most of the guys, and they were all older guys, that were giving me instructions and information about certain things, I had to realize they had lived life. Most of them were on their third wives. Some of them were retired or retiring or have been in their job for 20 plus years, right? So they have a certain level of money, right? And so I found myself feeling less than because I could not do some of the things that they had suggested, but I had to realize that I had to do it within my means. And it doesn't mean that I stopped dreaming. It didn't mean that I did not keep striving. But what that meant was I had to give myself, hear me, brothers, I had to give myself permission to create the world for my wife and I on my budget.
And ladies, you have to let him do that. The last thing you want to do is, while he's trying to create something for us, is to that he brings, we like, well, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, Keisha and them got a big old house.
No, don't do that.
Did you see? He just bought her this, and don't do that.
Don't do
right?
That.
Baby girl,
Don't do that.
You better be so happy with whatever it is, because it's not necessarily the gift itself. It was the thought that he thought enough of me to sacrifice, or whatever it is that he did. It is so important that that he knows that, like, from a real genuine place. Like, I so appreciate that, you know. And while you were talking about living within financial means, I also learned, babe, over time, how to live within emotional means.
Yeah. I was going to talk about that next. And that is the basis. That's the root, if you will, of a marriage. That's the beginning structure, is when you finally realize that this person loves me. And if they did not do a thing, could it be that they don't have the capacity to be able to do what I feel like I need and or I want, or what other people say, right? You have to be honest with yourself, right? The number one question we used to ask ourselves when we were angry with each other early on in our relationship is, would you do that intentionally?
Did he intentionally mean to hurt me? Did he intentionally mean? And then the reality is, as I matured, I can honestly say no. And if every time he comes and says something, that's a sore spot, you got another Band-Aid there.
Yeah.
Right? And at some point, you got to mature enough to know, listen, he's not coming to kill me. He always wants me to be seen in my best light.
Right.
So what is this that you're operating in? Is this offense?
Right.
Is this trauma?
Right.
Baby, you got to name it.
You got to
identify. You got to identify it, and you got to deal with it. And it is okay to sit there and say, okay, this is where this comes from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember one time and I think we've shared it before, and I think it's worth sharing it again. When we were kids, it was this song called, what was it? Fat Mama Lucci. Right. God, and one day we were just in the house and we were flashing back about, you know, how we grew up in the Richmond, California, how we grew up and just some of the things and how things have changed. And then we began to talk about, you know, things we did as kids on the playground. And he started singing the song. And like all the joy got sucked out of the moment. He was like, what happened? Because it just came on where I was just like, ugh. Like I was. And he said, why? What's going on? And at first, I was like, don't talk to me. Yeah. But I, again, living within my emotional means, because we were having a good moment and you just switched on something and you caught him off guard. I said to him, that song, when we were growing up, kids used to tease me with that song. And mind you, it's years later. But that was still a scar on my soul.
Yeah. That was
and he pulled me close.
That was interesting. And the reason why it was interesting is, one, I didn't think that song affected anybody like that. That's the first thing. The second,
I dealt with my weight.
The second thing, you know, I did not realize is people that were around us said that, and I did not know it.
Here we go.
That was my thing. So I was now forced, in all honesty, I was forced to have to sit there and say, okay, let me deal with her around what was said and or done. Not hear me, brothers, not necessarily try to make up for what was said or done.
That's good.
Not make up for it. Because I learned early on, there's some things that I just can't do. There's some areas I just cannot touch, right? But I can support her in this moment. And then, because y'all pray for me, I'm from Richmond, my other brain was like, I wonder if it was this person. And I wonder if it was that person.
Mind you, we kids.
And when I see them, I'm gonna ask the question.
Right.
And we're gonna see if they still feel the same way. Now, I'll be very honest with you. Part of the reason why I was blown away by that is because, once again, it was just some teasing song. And I never knew, when we were younger, I never knew she struggled with her whole weight issue.
I did. I struggled.
And I never knew weight was an issue for her, right? I saw her. I liked her in 2nd grade. I liked the little short curl she had.
Did you just tell the people I had a jerk?
The little green pants with bows on the back that she was wearing and the Snoop feet. Oh, wow.
Remember the pants with the zippers on the back?
Yep. Right? So I did not know that was an issue. I had no idea. And so what that did now, that caused me to be a lot more alert and or aware about weight issues, even though her size and her weight was not an issue for me. In fact, it was one of the plus because I like a plus size woman. So, but just because I liked it doesn't mean that she was comfortable with it at the time. And so I had to learn that might come up more times than not. And I had to know what to do and how to do when it did come up.
Let's deal with that because I'm pretty sure there's some other plus size girls out there that, you know, we married, but we still don't feel comfortable in the skin that we're in. And I had to learn, girl, you know what you look like, you know? And I used to be freaking out like, I don't look like the lady on the TV. And, you know, it's not, you know.
And she said those things before.
And I did. Out loud. Because once again, I was trying to grow up and I was trying to not create, when we begin to talk about emotional, that emotional space, the last thing you want to do is create this facade as if all is well and it's not, right? Living in that emotional space and that emotional base when you're trying to work through, it's so important that we're honest. And I had to be honest and say, yes, I know you like me at this size, and I know you find that attractive, but there's still a part of me. I don't feel that way. And so he had to love me to that point. I mean, and I'm talking about love me through it.
Genuinely.
Genuinely love me. Yeah. You know, he didn't fat shame me. He didn't say, why would you put that on? There were some things I wouldn't wear. And he was like, please wear it. And I was just like, I don't know about that. Or even, you know, because who we are in the kingdom and because we do preach and we do pastor and we do those things. When I'm on vacation, I'm on vacation.
Yes, Lord.
I'm not mounting the platform. I'm not mounting the pulpit. So he's gonna get a extra little thigh.
Yes, Lord.
Praise God.
Glory be.
You know, he's gonna get a little Cleveland. You know, I know some of y'all got cleavage, but I got a little Cleveland. It's extra, right?
Yes, Lord.
But I had to work to that place. And you use tools of compassion.
Yeah.
You know, you begin to cut away and trim away some of that pain.
And that wasn't easy.
Right. By looking at me and saying, babe, this, I want you to know that you're beautiful inside out. It's not about that. But you used to tell me this. I know who I married. Yeah. I know who I chose you.
Right.
And let's be honest, when I got married, we went down the aisle. I was the size, I'm going to go on and say it. I was the size, 24, 26, going down the aisle, you know? And I wasn't like the unhappy big girl. I mean, I always thought I was a little fly, but a part of that could have been I wanted to feel that way, but be at home behind closed doors, nobody's watching. Still, there was a part saying the outside people said I'm supposed to stay fit. I'm not supposed to change.
Right.
That, men don't like that. And if I wasn't careful, I would have all of these ideologies in my head. And he's sitting there wondering, like, girl, what happened?
Yeah.
And so, again, that's that emotion, staying within my emotional means and saying, babe, this is an issue. And then trusting him and taking him up on it. And I found myself finding outfits that, he might like this.
Right. And even with staying within those means emotionally, I also realize, and brothers, hopefully you can hear this and take note if these are some things that you have not been doing. The things that she did share with me in her vulnerability around that issue, I did not use them against her. no matter how angry we would get with each other about something totally different,
right.
I would never use that information because I knew that that was a breaking point, right? And so we have to understand that when you stay within your means emotionally, that means you know yourself. You know when you should shut up. Right? You come on now. You know when you should shut up. You know when you said too much, when you know when you are approaching, the overspill. You know when you're approaching evil. You know when you're approaching diabolical. Like you know yourself. And the reason why I said it like that is because sometimes we will get so in our feelings and our emotions and just let it fly, just let it rip. And we say a bunch of things that you should not say. And the reason why I said it like that is because most times people will say, well, when we get angry, we say things that we didn't mean to say. The Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Now, you might not be, you might not want to be forth-telling, or you might not want to harp on that, or you might not want to say it all the time, but it's deep down in there. You pondered that thing. That didn't just come up.
You thought about that,
right? That was something that you formulated, right? And we formulate things when we're angry, sometimes as a defense mechanism. Like, you hit me, I'm going to hit you. You hurt me, I'm going to hurt you. But guess what? That all is still stuff that we have on the inside, and so we have to be very careful that we don't use those as daggers, darts, and bullets.
Yeah,
daggers. Darts, bullets. Daggers are normally short. Daggers are normally long. Bullets, oh my God, they hurt. They go fast. They'll rip through some things. And then you have some darts, just those little ones that we figure, oh no, that ain't really no. Oh no, I was just playing. Oh no, you have to be very, very careful with that, because that, oh, I was just playing, when you've been with a person long enough, or you're feeling some kind of way, or you're in your emotions, stuff is running high, that that's just a cover up. That that's a lie. You really meant that thing. And you can easily dismiss it because, I could have said, no, but that little bit that you did say, the little bit that you did do was enough to do damage.
Yeah.
Was enough to do damage. And we have to be very careful with that.
Listen, I was looking in this, and while you were talking about this, in ours, we have some effective, long-lasting infection protection from minor cuts, scrapes, and burns.
Yeah.
Wow. Long-lasting.
Wow.
Long-lasting. One thing I know about this particular product is that even after the water comes, it's water resistant.
Yeah.
So what that says to me is, even when we're drowning in some things, I still want you to be protected.
Right.
How important is it that spouses or wives know, and husband knows, that no matter who says what, they're protected?
Right. And that's very important. And that doesn't necessarily start with something that people can see, right? In this culture, we have this thing like, if people are doing things, then that means something, and that's not altogether true, right? And what I mean by that is, if you feel like you need to be protected, if I just reach my hand out, that means, oh, that's a level of protection. That's not necessarily what that means, right? Because if I'm going to protect something or someone that I love, I'm not just going to use my hand. I'm going to use everything that I have. I'm going to shield you, right? And keep my balance to help you so we can get out of there, right? And so it's so important. It's so important for each person in the relationship to genuinely feel protected in all areas, because we might protect you in the house, but we might kick you to the curb in front of friends or outside of the house.
Listen, let's talk about that, because there are some people that says, you know what, he protects me at home, but when he gets in front of his family,
right,
or he gets in front of his friends, he just kind of say stuff, or he let them say whatever they want to say.
Right.
How important is it for us to feel protected even when I'm in the presence of your family your members. Friends, your family members. Like, I need to be okay.
When I look at this, I dissect it. Most of the time, oh God, if you have that scenario, well, you protect me at home. And most people, silly women, naive women, would say, well, he do it at home. But when you further investigate that, part of the real reason why he might do it at home is he got something at stake there, right? He got something at stake there. I got to keep the house happy so I can be warm. I can get that thigh. I'll be all right. Feel good. Make sure the bed is right, right? But when it's outside of laying down, if it's outside of your domain and there's other people involved, you have to have that same tenacity. You have to have that same level of protection, right? Outside with other people. And sometimes us brothers don't get it. Sometimes us brothers don't get it because we're so used to chiding and talking mess outside, right? That's just kind of what brothers do sometimes and never realize that this really affects our women.
Right.
And never really think like, oh, she could really be thinking about that. She's really taking this serious.
Absolutely.
Right. And so we have to now be keen enough to be like, hey.
She off limits.
That right there, you can't do.
Right.
I'm not going to allow you to do that. And even with this, even whether it's your boys, whether it's your family, your sisters, your brothers, you have to have that same level with them because what that says to your spouse is, oh, he's serious about me or she's serious about me, which means the vows that we took, we are sticking to them for better or for worse, forsaking all others, right? Meaning that it stops here. I'm not going to allow you to sow some crazy seeds or stir up problems amongst
and so see
us.
The discord.
Yeah, you're not going to do it. I'm not going to allow you to do it. I'm not going to allow you to do it, and I'm going to be the first partaker in this. I'm stopping you now. I'm the first line of defense. You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So let the chips fall where they may.
They fall.
But you're not going to do that.
Yeah, I think for me, as your wife, baby, there are times, and here it is, whether you right or you wrong.
Right.
Listen, we going down together.
Right.
I know, we talk about Ananias and Sapphira all day, but one thing they had in common is, listen, we going to hell together.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, oh no, it's no splitting us up. But for me, knowing who's protecting me into the depths, into the level of this protection.
Yeah.
You just can't come up in here and say and or do anything and I sit on the sideline. Right. Now, forgive me. And there's been times where things have happened and I was just naive. But when I got a revelation and I got an understanding of what's going on, oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
Right.
Because I think some of it wasn't that I didn't want to protect you. I didn't see that was what was happening.
Right.
And that person's heart was that way.
Right.
And they would really do that because see, I'm in love with you, and I would never do that to you. And I thought they loved me, and the love that they had for me would, translate over to you, but it didn't happen.
Right.
And so it took me sitting there and saying, "Wait a minute." And before I could get angry, I cried.
Right.
Because I could not believe, and I said, "Why didn't I see that?" And I was hurt. And every so often, that thing arises in me like, I'd have just...
Yeah.
But because the level of protection,
right, and
because he said, babe, you don't have to act like that. And it's not that he needs me to protect him.
Right.
But hold on. It is imperative that I draw the line in the sand. Nobody.
Right.
Mama, daddy, uncle, cousin, brother, nobody gets to disrespect.
Right.
You can't even talk about my husband to me. Really?
Right.
First of all, what would make you feel comfortable when you think you can have a whole conversation about my husband?
Right.
To me.
Right.
And I say absolutely nothing.
Right.
If that will be the last conversation we would ever have.
But even with that, and depending on the situation, because sometimes it sneak up on you and you're rough and all that kind of stuff. But even with that, you have to learn to give one another grace and space, because everybody don't have the same come to Jesus meeting. Right. Everybody don't have the same reckoning. Everybody don't figure it out and understand it. That's the first thing I'll say. So you have to give each other grace and space, and you have to have conversations about it. Yeah. You have to say, hey, when they were saying and doing, I didn't feel protected. Like, what?
Why you just
what's going on? You got nothing to say, right? You have to have that conversation, and you have to, because sometimes things are happening, and sometimes people are saying things, and you don't even realize. You don't even realize that, they're going for them, they're gunning for them until it's too late. Right. And so you have to be able to say, okay, we know now that we can't allow that to happen, right? But now, watch this. One last thing I want to say about this is, me protecting her and she protecting me does not just happen and start when we get outside of the house. It doesn't. We have to have an agreement.
We protect ourselves against our kids.
Yeah, you got to have an agreement before you leave the house.
This is what
you have to have an understanding before you leave the house. What do I mean by that? Case in point, we're living in a day and time where people have so much of a facade up, right? They pretend like they're one thing in front of others when it's really something else at home. But if you've come to the realization at home, when y'all practice this thing at home, when it's genuine and it's real at home, watch this, then it won't be a problem when you have to produce outside of your home. Yeah. It becomes second nature.
Yeah.
All right. It becomes just like breathing. You don't have to think about breathing. You just do it. You just do it. Yeah. Period, point blank. And so hopefully and prayerfully, we're saying some things that resonate with people, that you guys would have an understanding, or we've seen things that will cause you to go back and reevaluate.
Absolutely.
Some scenarios that you might have had in your relationship, some arguments you might have had in your relationship. And hopefully you can see it from a different point of view. Like, I can see why she ticked off.
Right.
She did not feel protected. Right? Like, I'm flipped out. Like, why are you just tripping? You always tripping. Why you? But hopefully you'll be able to look at it and say, I never thought about it like that. And I'll be very honest with you. This is part of the reason why I agree to do this kind of stuff, because this is not my thing to do at all. It's just not, right? But if I could help somebody else, if I could help change somebody's perspective, or have something to say that cause you to think about what is to come or what has happened in the past, and cause you to say, I think I need to change that. Right. I think it was worth it.
But you said something. Before we get out there, we have to have basically a game plan. You got to strategize this, right? There are times where, okay, this is where we're about to go. And, if I bat my eyelashes about 5 times, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable.
Right.
And I'm not using that as a tool of manipulation, and vice versa. He can be like, you ready, honey? Sure. Let's go. Yeah. Because
some stuff is just too much.
It's a lot. And I'm not willing to sacrifice his space, his protection, him feeling comfortable for the sake of who's in the room. That does not happen.
Yep. And that helps you keep your integrity.
Yeah, I'm not interested in doing that. And so at the end of the day, I do life with him. We do life, and not saying that every decision that we made was right. There's some things that we said we probably could have handled that a little better.
Yes.
But okay.
And we still evaluate them.
And we do, especially as we grow older, and as we transforming around here. Yeah. Did I tell you we grandparents?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, yeah,
it's real.
Things have taken on a different, a different look.
Different meaning.
So with that being said, we do more talking now than ever. We do. I mean, we lay it all out. We lay it all out, and we we talk this thing through, because again, that's my forever.
Right.
That's my vow. That's my everything.
Yep.
You know, when we move just like that. You know,
you have to remember that
we consult, we try to figure it out. You know, we try to, you know, do the best that we can do to make this thing happen. You know, our dog is on the set. Lord. You want to help her? No, okay. And so we try to do the best that we can do with one another and protecting one another, and to make sure, you know, we're okay and make sure he's happy. I still ask him, do I please you? Uh-oh. I do. I ask him, do I still please you? I want to know.
It's a crazy question sometimes.
You know, but no, I mean,
sometimes it's random.
Yeah, it is. Because listen, you got to ask them random questions because you can get an honest answer. Not saying he's a liar, but I mean, I just want to know, do I? Listen, what am I losing control out of? What am I losing control over? What's slipping through my hand? You know, there was a season where, you know, I was doing production and I was working and I was on flights and I was writing books and I was doing all of this, and there were certain things that began to lack, and I had to check in. Mm-hmm. And I think you told me, you said, babe, you're not going to be able to cover. Something is going to go lacking.
Yep.
You didn't tell me what was going to go lacking.
Right.
You said that with the understanding of you are going to have to prioritize,
right,
and figure out what is not going to be able to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that being said, I had to prioritize my family.
Yep.
I had to prioritize my children, my husband. You know, okay, some of this don't matter.
And ministry stuff.
And ministry. And I never wanted to be that person that you wonderful out there, and to all the people, they ooh right. and all, and oh, she saw this, but at home you a total bust. Like your kids don't like you, your husband don't know you, you know. Yeah. I say this jokingly all the time. There's a lot of times, there are some things that, you know, I wanted to do on Saturdays. And, you know, there were some prayer breakfasts that I missed, and a lot of things, you know, things were happening on Saturdays. And it's not that I was not trying to, you know, be in attendance, but I got to clean up. You know, I got to date my husband. I got to make sure my kids are okay. I'm having a prayer breakfast right at home because I'm in the kitchen,
right,
doing pancakes and scrambling eggs, you know.
And the interesting thing about that is we made up our minds a long time ago that we were not going to sacrifice our family on the altars of the church.
Not going to do it.
Not going to do it.
Because I realized something, as our kids are getting older, that time goes by so fast.
Yep.
And I didn't want to be held in contempt in the courts of my children of being an absent parent, where you was there for everybody else.
Right.
But you was not there.
Right.
For us.
Right.
And again, although we're talking about the marriage toolbox, some of these same tools that we use with each other, we had to then go and support our children.
Support the children.
Right. We have to use that emotional intelligence with them.
Yep.
And so as they grow, and as, you know, we grow, and being able to, you know, trust one another and trust each other on the assignments, and knowing that I'm coming back to you whole.
Yeah.
And I think that was a thing, you know, when it was time for me to get on a flight, I got to trust, not so much me, but where she's going to, that they're not going to break my wife.
Right.
And that they're not going to mistreat her. And I think one of the things that I thought was amazing, in some of my, you know, some of the host church, they would text me like, your husband is amazing. And I'm like, yeah, I know. They was like, no. Did you know he called us to follow up and to make sure you were good, but to say thank you for treating my wife well? I was like, shut your mouth and keep on talking. I said, really?
Yeah.
And for me, that meant the world.
Yeah.
That meant the world, that even though he couldn't be there in the service with me, his presence. And what that also let me know is he let them know she is not by herself.
Right. Exactly.
And I can get on the flag.
Yes.
and I will come.
Yes.
But I want to say thank you for being hospitable to my wife. Those things matter. That's still a level of protection.
It is a level of protection.
That's still a level of protection. Well, guess what, guys? I think that's going to be our time. Listen, if we have said anything on this Good Saturday that has blessed your life, do us a favor. Go ahead and send us an email, believeradio.lifewithlizzie@gmail.com. Let us know that you in the marriage tool. Where you at? Let us know you in the toolbox. You in the marriage toolbox. Listen, you in here with us. And like I say every week, until next time, you go and you be great. And you come back now here. I holla.
Bye-bye.